syllabus and you have an idea about what exactly and where exactly we are at considering the coverage of syllabus. So what I want to do today is we have seen a lot of theoretical content, lot of all theory and that. So let us do a practical task wherein we will try to predict or we will try to solve the given ML problem. So as you all know that whenever I say I have an ML problem, it means that I have to develop a model which can learn to predict based on that data set. Now, when I say it wants to predict, I need to first understand what kind of machine learning ability we want. Do you want that task to regress a value? I mean, guess a continuous value or guess a class for a specific instance. I mean, we are talking about categorization. In our words, it is what we call it as classification. Or do you want it to be automatically categorized? I mean, we want unsupervised categorization, which we call it as clustering. So we will think on that. So we will repeat we will take few sample data sets, and then we will work on how exactly we can try to work on that. So what I'll do is I'll show you some Kaggle data sets, and we will try to download those data sets. And once we download those data sets, initially, without going into programming and writing Python code, we will use the best available tool, which is open source available tool for to explore and compare machine learning algorithms. Can you guess what the tool name is? The tool we will be using is Veka, and some of you might have already used it. I'm not sure, like, have you understood actually what exactly the Veka is? Because unfortunately, what I see is many staff, they just teach you to load a data set in Veka and explain you graphs, and that's it. But there is lot more in that. So it is very powerful toolkit which lets you evaluate lot of machine learning models. So the first thing what I'll do is I'll search for a data set. There is something called a student performance data set. So anyhow, I think we are. I have asked you to prepare a data set and build a model to guess the likelihood of a student to get placed, right? So that this data set can help you in that assignment, I am just taking this student performance data set. So now, if I go to the student performance data set, okay. So if you see this, let me see if I can explain you how exactly it works. Okay. Hmm. Okay, so if I look at this data set, what this data set is, this data set consists of marks secured by students in various subject. And if I want to look at task, I need to predict the performance prediction. So, okay, so it's actually a correlation, the correlation between different attributes. So let me make a quick view at the data set. What it contains, okay, almost it has test preparation, parental, race, gender, ethnicity. So it is asking us to predict the students' math score, reading score, and writing score. We can go for this. Let me see if it lets me download the data easily. Yeah, I have downloaded this. Let me see. I think I am not sure if it is you are able to. See my screen. Gender test. Okay, so let me go back to another one. This is not, so see, this is one data set. I have that data set downloaded, but what I'll do is we will come back to this problem another time. So I am typing this link in your Telegram group. This is one thing. And if I'm not wrong, I'm searching for another student performance data. See, why I'm deliberately avoiding is I want to take a data set where I can explain you how should be your feature selection and how should be your, or else give me a minute. There is a UCI data set for this. Just a minute. Beginners cost. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. No. Just a minute. I'm looking through the data set. Okay, so I got this. This is what I wanted to discuss with today. Like, this is what I wanted to discuss. See, now if you check this, let me also send you the link of this Kaggle task. I am putting this, and let us call this as task 1. And the data set which we saw earlier, we'll call it task 1 and task 2. So right now, our focus would be to focus on task 1. So this is the task 1 which I was talking about. Okay. So what we need to do here is, see, this is information. Now, if you look at this, what this does is here, it has a data set which consists of all these data fields, right? I hope you can read this. It has students' school name, their gender, age, address, family size, how many were their family size, what was the parents' status, mother's education, father's education, guardian, travel time, how much time the student takes to travel from home to school. There are a lot of it, like number of past failures, support, family education. A lot of fields are there, like whether the student has internet access or not. So from all this, and it also includes how many absences he has from the school. From all these fields, what they want to predict what would be the final grade the student would be getting. So now here, if you look here, this data set contains 3 grades as a column. What is G1, G2, and G3? G1 is the grade. The first, for example, you can consider this from our perspective, like ISC 1, ISC 2, and ISC 3. Assume that our ISC 3, if it is a final thing, I have a final grade here, right? So this task is actually asking you to build a ML model which would predict the final grade of the student based on how many feature sets they have given, from 1 to 30 features. Based on this, they're asking you to do something so that next time when you give a similar student's data to this model, it would predict what grade the student is likely to get, final grade. Now, if you look here, you will understand that, okay, so if you look here to this data set, you can understand that, read this line. What they are saying, Important note, the target attribute is G3. What do you mean by target attribute? It means that it is a label. So we want to predict value for this column. So this becomes a label, rest all becomes a feature. I hope you're getting that. So G3 is the target attribute. So we want to build an ML model to predict the value for G3 column. I mean the final grade. But understand that if you look at G2 and G1, they're the first and second grade. What he is saying is the data set, the person who has launched this contest, maybe some person in Portugal or some country. So this data has been taken from Portugal schools, and this data set is also available on UCL machine learning repository as well. So we will download that from that directory itself. So now, when you're looking here, you will understand that attributes G2 and G1, these are highly correlated to G3. Now, what do you mean by word correlation? Do you know what we mean by correlation? Can you tell me what we mean by correlation? If I say that your grades and your performance in mock test is correlated, what does it mean? What does it mean to say it is correlated? Correlation means, see, when two variables are related in a fashion such that a change in one variable affects another variable. If you find this behavior, then we call this as correlated values. Yes. So decrease in this, yes. So correlation could be twice, negative correlation, positive one. So negative means a change in one variable might affect other variables value to be increased, and decrease might affect other variables to increase likewise. So it could be same, or it could be proportional or inversely proportional. So talking about here, what he wants is, he wants you to build a ML model without even considering G1 and G2. So don't consider it. In short, what he is saying is, see, he is asking, it is more difficult to predict G3 without G2 and G1, but such prediction is more useful, right? So when a new student has taken an admission, we have not yet taken their G1 and G2, yet we want to predict his final. So that's an actual task which I want to realize. So now, given this data set, what I'll do is I'll download this data set. Now, fortunately, this data set is also available on UCI machine learning repository. So I have opened and I'll show you. Now, I hope you all know that it's a repository of various standard machine learning data sets, and mostly used to teach machine learning and learn machine learning. So this is where you see the student performance data set. And from this data set, what I'll do is I have already downloaded this data folder. And when I download this data folder, you have, let me see if I can show you after download what I get. Just a minute. Okay, so let me do one thing. I'll share my entire screen. Okay, so I hope now you see my entire screen. What I was saying is, when you have downloaded this, this data set, it is where here you click data folder. Click on this data folder, you get student.zip. Download that and extract it. You will see a data set similar to this: student math, student merge.r, and student Portuguese. I'll explain you what these four files are. So this is the text file which is describing the data set. This is a R file which we are not yet exploring. We are not touching the R aspect any of in this. So it has a two data sets. One to predict grades in maths, one to predict grade in Portuguese language. Like we have a Hindi language, we have Marathi language. Likewise, in Portugal, Portuguese is a language. So there are two data sets. Students predicting students grade G1, G2, G3 for maths, and predicting students grade for predicting Portuguese, right? See, this would be quite interesting to explore. For example, here what we will do is we will just explore the math grade. So here it is in Excel, it is CSV file, it is a comma separated value file. So if you open this, this is what you see, that since my separator is some semicolon, you won't be able to properly go through all these values, but I hope you got an idea. Like these are the school, age, gender, age, family size, status, reason, guardian, all this data has been given, and you have to predict grade for last two columns, right? So what I'll do is, so we will explore this data set. Now, I hope you understood. Have you understood what we are trying to solve? We have a data set where we have the complete details of all these features, and my intention is to predict G3 without using G1 and G2 as a features. Okay. So can you just let me know that we are on same page? Can you just let me know that have you understood to this point? Can we proceed with opening Weka and exploring data set? I hope you understood what we are trying to solve and what we want to do. Okay. So now this data set, we will now open this with the help of Weka. So I have this Weka installed here. This is the latest version I have, 3.8.5. And here on do you know like what are the functionalities of these buttons and what they do, or you want me to explain? Do you know all these Weka functions? What is Explorer, Experimenter, Knowledge Flow, Workbench, and Simple CLI? Okay, so let me explain you what exactly it is. See, Weka is a tool which lets you experiment with lot of machine learning libraries. Now, when I talk about machine learning libraries, I am talking about some pre-implemented machine learning algorithms, filtering, and lot of other things, right? So here this Weka, you have multiple options. Like it comes with a lot of pre-built machine learning algorithms, right, related to regression, classification, clustering, association, data filtering capabilities, lot of statistical functions, lot are present in that. So as an ML researcher or as an ML engineer, when you want to initially develop the skill of building ML models, so we use Weka very heavily because it doesn't ask you to write a program. Though you can also do whatever you're doing in Weka, you can also do it by writing a Java program where you use the Weka library. So the first thing is Explorer. So in Explorer, what we do is we can explore one single data set. We can apply some transformations on data set, and we can apply some kind of single ML model, and then you can explore the results. You can see a lot of visualizations and all that. So it is a kind of exploratory GUI where you can play with one data set and you can build one model on that. Now, when you go to Experimenter, the Experimenter's purpose is to compare two different ML models. Remember, for a same data set, I might prefer to build two ML models, one using decision tree classifier, another using some different kind of classifier. For example, let's consider naive Bayes classifier. Now you want to compare which ML model's performance is good, the one which uses decision tree classifier or naive Bayes tree classifier. You want to compare. This comparison is not done usually by writing down values in a notebook, comparing values. No, this experimenter will let you compare them with the help of standard statistical comparison tools. We will see few lectures on this. For example, the same task which we are doing now, we will also do, we will also compare this model by using multiple prediction models. That time you will see in a complete experimenter. Now when you click on knowledge flow, this knowledge flow is nothing but it gives you a GUI where you can build ML models with the help of GUI chooser. I mean, what you will have there is, you will have a GUI drag and drop based UI. For example, there you can drag and drop a classification algorithm, drag drop data sets. It's like a drag and drop GUI designer, right? So I hope difference is clear. Explorer and experimenter and knowledge flow. Okay, yeah. So now what we mean by workbench? Now workbench is, it is something which combines the explorer and experimenter in one single GUI. Little more complex than explorer and one. Whatever you can do in explorer and experimenter, that you can do in a workbench. I mean, whenever you want to compare, you want to explore, you want to do something, you want to process data, you want to change the fields, like you have built an ML model. Now you want to change from classification to clustering, but you don't want to switch, you still want the classification results. At that time, what we do is, we want the power of both. We want the flexibility of explorer and experimenter. Then we prefer to use workbench. And then we have a simple CLI. CLI stands for command line interface. Whatever you could do through explorer, experimenter, knowledge flow, and workbench, that can be done by using a command line commands. For example, it's like the way you can control the operating system with the help of shell script. Exactly same, Weka comes with few set of commands, and all with help of all those commands you can control the Weka behavior. Like you can build a model, train, test, deploy. You can do a lot of things just by using commands. So maybe not much popular with most of people, because they prefer to use GUI, and they don't want to remember commands, CLI, and all that. Fine. Okay, so now let me first have a walkthrough using this explorer. So I'm opening this explorer window. Okay, I hope you see the screen. I'll keep it little customized. Okay, so what I'll do is, let me see if presenting just this window would be better. Okay, I think now that this should be visible a bit better. Okay, so now you can see that. So where I am, we are on Weka Explorer. What we are doing? We are on Weka Explorer, where here now I can explore. So the first thing what I do is, see, do you see here tabs which are hidden? Classify, cluster, associate, select attributes, and visualize, right? So first thing is, I will load the data set, right? So when I want to load this data set, I'll click on open file. I hope it is okay. You can see that. So I'm clicking on open file, and here I will download the data set. So what is the student data set which we have downloaded, that I'll try to open that. So, okay, here we had a student folder. And see, the by default Weka uses its own format called as ARFF, but here our data is in comma separated files. So select CSV. So you see 2 1. First, let us work with maths grades. So I'm importing this CSV, open. It gives you error. What it says that it is unable to read and all that, because though we have said comma separated values, the data set is actually separated by a semicolon. So I'll use a converter. The field separator, like, see, it was asking how each fields in of the attributes are separated. When I said CSV, it assumed comma, but the data set internally was using semicolon as a separator. So I'll just set a field separator as a semicolon and I'll click on OK. The moment you click on OK, what do you see here? You will see that all the attributes are being loaded here. What do you see here? All attributes are loaded here. Now, once all attributes are loaded here, what you can do is you select a specific, for example, I have selected school. So what it is saying, the type of school, what type of data it has? Nominal. What do you mean by nominal? We have two types of data in Veka, numeric and nominal. What do you mean by numeric values? Numeric values are something which are continuous range. For example, temperature values will be always numeric. For example, if I have for example, let me say for example, let me take any activities. Okay, for example, if I take gender, what type of value the gender is? Gender is nominal value. Gender cannot be numeric. Nominal means something which are categorical. Like this variable can only assume value f or m. That's it. So it is called as nominal values. So likewise, you can explore various variables. So now if you take age, what is age? What is age? Age is a numeric. Now you can say that the minimum age value in this is 15, maximum is 22, and we get a mean is this, and it is a standard deviation. Standard deviation gives you idea that how the values in this are varying, right? So if standard deviation is around 1 and 2, it is good. See, if we want, let me tell you what is the use of this concept of standard deviation and mean. Why they are given here? See, now when you look at the age column, the values are from 15 to 22. Now, do you want a column which has the constant data in that, or which doesn't change much, or there is a column in which values change much? Which column is supposed to have a more information, which as an ML engineer or an ML developer we would like to learn from? So where you will find more information, a column data where values don't change much, or a column data where values change very frequently. Like one could be 1, next time the value could be 8, third time the value could be 0 once again. So what do you feel? As a, see, I'm not asking machine learning, but as a logical thinking, in a logical thinking perspective, where would you find more information? The one, a column where data doesn't change much, or a column where data changes much? Okay, any other? Vanshika, she's saying that a column where data changes frequently has more to learn from it. Any other answer? See, a column whose data changes much will have a high standard deviation. A column where data doesn't change at all will have a less standard deviation, or at least, or it could also indicate zero standard deviation. See, understand that whenever I have a column in which data changes very much, like there is a too much degree of variation in data, that column tends to have more information. And as a machine learning engineer, we always prefer to choose such columns where data changes frequently. If data doesn't change, it would be very difficult to predict something. Okay, let me give me 5 minutes. I'm muting because there's some background noise. Okay, so let me discuss it. Okay, I hope you got this point. Like, we always prefer a column. Instead of saying we always prefer, it is recommended that we build our model on the columns whose value changes, whose standard deviation is at least in an acceptable range. Okay, so now if you see here, you have a standard deviation, like the standard deviation mean is 16, standard deviation is 1.2. It means that almost the all ages, like something might be 16 plus 1 or 16 minus 1, 16 plus 1 minus 1 though. So there is not much change. If you look at this, there is not much information to be gained from this age, right? Likewise, you have the family size. Okay, and the family size once again nominal. So I means GT3 LE3 could indicate some family size. There are a lot of other one, right? So you can see health. Health is some indication, I guess. So here you can see the minimum is this, standard deviation is 1.39. So what this explorer thing does is it lets you explore all this data, and we have the G1, G2 and G3. Now if you recall G1, G2 and G3, you will understand that uh, see, G1 is the first grade, G2 is second grade and G3 is third grade, right? Now if you want to find out what exactly this is, how exactly these three are attributed, remember, before we go to ML and all that, we would like to decide what attributes from this data set we will use for our classification task. So we might do one thing. From the 33, for example, how many features I have? 32. The last one is always the label in case of Veka. In Veka, whenever you load any data set, except the last field is automatically considered as a label field, and all above are automatically considered as the features, right? So sometimes we might not need all 32 features here we have. So we want to choose only those attributes or only those features or only those columns from the data set which have some weight, which has some good amount of information in that, which can help in predicting that, right? So I hope you all understood that. See, can I predict likelihood of students placement just by looking at the age of student? Does it make any sense? No. So there are some columns which you can outrightly remove, because as in domain understanding, when we talk about domain understanding, when we apply our domain knowledge, like what happens into grade prediction, you can easily remove. Like, does age decide the grade? Does it mean that 15-year-old student will always get better grades than 16-year-old? No, it can't be. So these are something which we want to remove it. So when we want to do that, or we know this, like we say that age is not that relevant in predicting the grade. So to verify statistically if it is a case, what we do is we apply this attribute selection field in Veka. So what we do is, in machine learning, there is a concept called as information gain. The concept of information gain is nothing but it tells you from the available feature sets which column or which attribute has a appropriate amount of information which will be most probably be very useful for building the ML model. For example, when you run information gain process on data set, it will rank the attributes in uh, order of their importance for building an ML model. Like how much information is there in that, which can help me in predicting the value for G3. This is a part of feature engineering, where from available feature sets, instead of relying in all feature sets, we will always try to reduce them. So you can go to select attributes, choose the attribute evaluator, how I want this attribute to be evaluated. So now if you check here, Okay, I think here I need to keep this as rank. Okay, so once you keep this as rank, you have information. Okay, this is something cool. I want to run this information gain, but I think okay. So you just select this as a ranker. Search method, I want to rank the attributes based on ranker algorithm. These are internal methods. And the moment I do that, it is evaluating the attributes based on information gain, right? So now you have to select what is the label for which you want the importance of attributes. So select G3. So why G3? G3 is the label for my data set. You have to select G3. Then what you can do is then you can use information gain and choose the search method as ranker. Once this is done, uh, okay, I'm not sure whether I have. I can click apply here. I need to enable this start. Sometimes it doesn't work. Or let me see that. Sometimes the data doesn't load quickly. You must use ranker search in order to use Weka attribute. Yes. It isn't working on this one. Okay. See, this could be reason why I. Okay, so let me come back to this. What is important is, see, now, okay, that is fine. Like we will come back to that information gain. But now, if you look at G3, what's the type of G3? It is numeric, right? Now, in order to evaluate information gain, the G3, the label has to be a nominal value, right? The G3 has to be a nominal value. Now, before we go to G3 and all that, let me also check the correlation comparison. Let me compare them by correlation. Okay, if I keep this correlation and if I keep this 3, I want to see which columns are most correlated to G3, right? If I start this, you will get this idea. Like, okay, do you see this? Here you can see that for the column G3, which columns in the attribute set or in the feature set are most correlated to G3. Like you find dependency between G3 and that, and these are ranked based on rank. Which are the two fields which you find the most correlated with the G3? G2 and G1. Yes. So you will say that final grade is always in correlation with what they get in first and second grades, G1 and G2. So you can see that almost the rank average correlation is also 0.9 and 0.8. And if after that, if something which is applied is another field like the medical availability, the higher education, the address, and surprisingly it also finds gender as one correlated one. So it also finds the study time as a correlated. So as you scroll down, you will find the least important. What it is saying is, it is saying the failures are not much related. Okay, but this is correlation of attribute. Now the problem with information gain, is that we have to decide, we have to have G3 in a numeric format. Now, I hope you understood the reason why I'm unable to select the information gain attribute evaluation on G3. So the question arises, G3 type is numeric. If I consider G3, the minimum is 0 and maximum grade is 20. Mean is this and standard deviation is 4.5. So there is subsequent amount of change in this. Now G3 is something a numeric value. If G3 is a numeric value and if I have this all features, we have to answer a very fundamental question. As an ML problem, what do you see this? Do you see this as a regression task or do you see this as a classification task? So unless I cross this hurdle of deciding whether I need to treat this ML problem as a regression or should I treat it as a classification? So if I want to treat it as a regression, I want the label to be continuous. Yes, the label is continuous. It's a numeric value. It can take any value from 0 to 20, right? So if I want to treat this as a regression, then for regression, I do not go on information gain. For regression, I always check the correlation, right? So correlation is working in this. So I can apply the correlate. I can evaluate attributes on their correlation coefficient with respect to label G3, and I find all this. So somehow, if I apply some regression on this, it will work and it will give some value on that. But my question is, should I consider this as a regression problem? 0 to 20. Do you think does it make sense? Should I treat this data set as a regression problem or should I treat it as a classification problem? If I want to treat this problem as a classification problem, then label can't be numeric. Label has to be a nominal. It means it needs to have some set of values. So from 0 to 20, you cannot have class 0, class 1, class 2, class 6. The maximum value the grade variable can have is in between 0 to 20. So what do you think? Do you think that it would be better to treat this problem as a regression, or do you think better to treat this problem as a classification? If we want to make it as a classification, how do you convert this column G3, which is numeric, into some classes? Once I convert them into classes, then you can apply an information gain. You can find out which fields are more important in order to classify student into the classes which we have identified. Then once we convert the G3 into a classification group of classification values, then we can go to classify and then we can apply a lot of classification algorithms which we have. So I think I'll stop at this point. I want you to think on this problem and tell me, how should I treat this problem? As a regression or as a classification? So this is a fundamental point we have to address, because here you are neither writing an algorithm, you are doing anything. You are just applying a rational thinking, considering the domain. Remember, when you want to answer this, consider the domain of grade prediction in education. Do you think, for example, I want to build an ML model which predicts how many marks you will get out of 100 in ML? So do you think I can do that? For example, I'll tell you, if I build a regression model to predict your ML gates based on your performance in ICA and ISC, I will say that student with roll number 1 will get marks 80. He will get 80 marks in ML. But in examination, instead of 80, he got 79. So is my prediction correct or wrong? My prediction is wrong in this case. When I predicted as a linear regression that you will get 80 and you have scored 79, my prediction, my linear regression based on which I predicted you will get 80 is wrong. But if I predict, let us suppose, if I predict by looking at your ICA and ISC, if I say in ML, you will get marks in between 75 to 80. That's what a prediction I made. And in real exam, you have scored 78. What I predicted that you will score marks in between 75 to 80. And in real examination, you have scored 78. Is my prediction correct? Yes, my prediction is correct. Are you getting? So what I'm trying to tell you is, Here the grades are something 0 to 20. If you want to consider this as a regression problem, you can go ahead and you can implement. But are you getting the validity of regression model? So I want you to think based on what I told you and suggest me, should I go for treating this problem as a regression problem or should I treat it as a classification problem? If I want to treat it as a classification problem, I cannot continue with existing values of G3. I need to convert that into some kind of categorical values. So how should I do that? Okay, so we will continue this in our next lecture. I hope this will give you an idea of how to go with this. And also, if you want me to continue this tomorrow, I am also fine to continue this tomorrow also. Like if you feel this is an interesting problem and you don't want to wait till next Tuesday to work, I will just put a poll in Telegram group. Let me know if we want to continue it tomorrow. I will continue tomorrow as well. Okay. So have you understood this? Have you understood my last question? Okay. I hope you also understood the ML problem, ML thing which I told you. It's a hint to you to decide should I treat it as regression or classification problem. Okay. So that's it for this session. You mark your attendance and you should be able to leave. I will later on, I'll release the poll in the Telegram.